Thank you. To help us begin this celebration, I'm honored to turn it over to someone who's been a strong supporter of our veterans and military families, Councilmember Chad West.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So great to see you all here today, celebrating this this huge birthday for. I thought I was old, man. Army, 250 years. That's pretty amazing. To celebrate with my colleagues here and my battle buddy and fellow veteran, especially Jaime Resendez. You know, the Army. Some of you heard this story before, but the Army has been really good to me as a young man. It is what brought me to Texas. Back when I was, I was just right out of college. I went to basic training first as a enlisted soldier out of high school on a whim. I was, y'all may not even know the story. I'd already gotten into college. I was going that fall, and a buddy of mine and I decided we were going to go talk to the National Guard recruiter in the gym. I was 17 and a half years old, and I'd already planned to go to college. I was the kind of kid that never skipped school or anything, but we decided that day we were going to skip 7th period and go play video games after we talked to the recruiter. And it's my buddy's plan. He was in there, and he stayed on track. He's like, all right, let's go talk to this guy. We're going to my house. I ended up signing right there. It was the recruiter was so good. He talked me into it, to signing up for the National Guard. My parents lost their minds, as you might imagine, and but I went to basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and that began my Army journey, which eventually brought me to Texas after college and took me overseas, and I think made me into the person I am today. So it is a blessing to still have my brothers and sisters and in our ongoing fraternity and sorority that we call the Army, as we continue to be supporters of this great organization. Today I'm excited also, as I mentioned, to have my battle buddy here, who's been serving with Jaime for 6 years. We got 2 more years now that we're through re-election to represent military veterans on the City Council and especially the Army. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, good afternoon, really, now at this point. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm Jaime Resendez. I represent District 5 on the City Council, but I'm also a U.S. Army combat veteran. And I joined at 17 years old as well. I was at Skyline High School at the time, and this was in the year 2000. And obviously 9/11 happened, and I ended up serving a year-long tour of duty in Baghdad, Iraq. And when I tell people the story, I wasn't in Baghdad handing out water to people. I was on hundreds of convoys throughout the city of Baghdad. People were dying on the same streets that I was on the same day that I was on those streets. It just wasn't me. And so I come back to Dallas with a totally different perspective on life. It impacted the rest of my, up to this point, the rest of my life. I started really truly focusing on my education. I was at Eastfield Community College and then transferred to UNT Dallas and ultimately graduated from the University of Texas School of Law. But had it not been for the military and the war experience, I wouldn't have gotten to that point and now serving on the City Council. But as we gather to commemorate the legacy of the U.S. Army, I'm filled with pride, both as a City Council member and as a veteran of this distinguished institution. The Army has endured as the backbone of our nation's defense for 250 years. Its history is more than one of battles and victories. It's a testament to the power of service and the opportunity it affords those who choose to serve and defend. For me, the Army was an opportunity equalizer. I grew up without the same access to higher education as many of my peers, but through my service in the Army, I found my pathway forward. The GI Bill and the Hazelwood exemption here in Texas opened doors that were once out of reach, paying for my college education and law school. The Army helped develop the discipline and focus that allowed me to achieve the success I wanted in my life. This transformative experience didn't just change my life, it gave me the tools to serve my community and advocate for others in ways I never thought possible. Today, as we honor the 250 years of sacrifice, courage, and progress, I acknowledge that the Army's strength lies not only in its might, but its inability to lift up Americans from every walk of life. For many, as it was for me, the Army's legacy is one of opportunity, resilience, and hope for the future. So let us pause today to reflect on all those in our lives who stood up and reflect on those who gave their lives in service. And let us commit to ensuring that the next generation has the same opportunities to serve, learn, and lead. Together, we can all defend this promise to them. Thank you so much.
I want to take just a moment. I know we have, we're waiting, we're about to bring up our other speakers here, but for the individuals who are in the Veterans Affairs Commission for the city, could you please stand up? Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your service. And I want to appreciate, I understand Mr. Chair Mestas has, you're not serving as chair anymore, but you've done it for. Okay. Would you like to come up? Would you?
Celebration a few weeks ago. Ms. Greta Galileo and a councilman from we're inclusive. We're trying to be inclusive. In the city of Dallas, it's a bad word, I guess, nowadays, but we try to get all communities involved with our commission. They served in 100-year-old veteran from the Bataan War, or the Bataan Death March was at the celebration. That just struck me. So I appreciate you coming out and co-chair Monty. He's been on my side. I'm gonna let him say whatever he has to say.
Monty, would you like to say a couple words? No pressure. You know how the Army works. You got to be ready anytime. Come on up here. Thank you, sir.
When they asked me to speak, I have to tell you, I haven't been here for all 250 years, but a good part of that. The Army is older than the country. The Army was founded over a year before the Declaration of Independence. And throughout our history, it's been the Army who has provided protection to our people. It has provided an opportunity, as already stated, to many people who would not have had opportunities without military service. But it's not, the Army is an institution. It's the veterans. It's the people who serve now, who served in the past, and who will serve in the future that make the big difference. And we, who live here in Dallas, don't have a lot of military installations and things to remind us of that fact, but we do have a lot of veterans that we need to appreciate. And when I'm out walking, which I do every day through our District 1 neighborhood, people come up and say, "Thank you for your service." And I want to say, well, thank you for paying for me to be of service. So, again, the Army is us. It's reflected in the people, the men, the women who serve our country as volunteers now. When I came into service, it was a draft Army, but we transitioned, and I think we have today the finest military of any country in the world. So, as we celebrate and we cut the cake and we enjoy it, let's remember what is important, and that is the people that made up the Army.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is J.P. Hogan. I'm a colonel, retired United States Cavalry. For those of you who are astute observers of cavalry, you'll ask, why am I wearing a brown Stetson instead of a black one? Well, I got a black one. It's older than many people in this room. I keep it under glass because Cheech and Chong wore it once, and I don't want to lose it. But I really wear a brown one because my regiment Historical Regiment is the 1st Cavalry Regiment, which is the oldest cavalry in the U.S. Army. And they served west of the Mississippi River in the late 1800s, and they wore brown Stetsons. I'm a cavalryman. I live west of the Mississippi, therefore I wear a brown Stetson as part of my brand, if you will. I'd like to thank Monty. He and I came into the Army the same year. He was commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in infantry, and I in armor in cavalry. We spent the same similar times, didn't know one another in Mannheim, West Germany in the late 1980s. So we were reflecting that our Army is a small place, especially if you've served somewhere. If you go stand on a corner anywhere, somebody will come by that knows you from when you were there, I'd like to do 3 things today. One, talk a little bit about the Army. We've got an award to present that I get to put on a different hat that honors our Army and the people that support our Army. And then we're going to cut the cake that Monty talked about. As was mentioned, 250 years of continuous service, older than any other institution in this nation. There are older institutions, but they were British, like Harvard and other places. But the Army was the shoulders upon which our nation built itself. And on June 14th in Philadelphia, we stood the Continental Army up and asked George Washington to command it. And on the 3rd of July, he took command of it in Boston. And we've been marching forward ever since. In that 250 years, there have been 190 campaign streamers that have been delivered to soldiers and units for what they have done in support of our Constitution and in support of our allies and in support of freedom. And of the 250 years, 128 of them have seen U.S. soldiers engaged somewhere on this planet in defense of that Constitution. That's no small piece. And it's a small number of people that do this. We're in a nation of, 350 million people today? Of those 350 million people, a little more than 2,000 are in uniform. And 800,000 of those people are in our reserve structure. That's the American way of war. It's a small military that builds on itself in times of crisis. So I'm going to step outside of the Army pure and honor somebody for her support to soldiers that work in our nation, but also serve in uniform. So, can you come up, please? And could Kimberly Franklin come up here? Here we have a U.S. Army Reserve soldier, works for the city of Dallas. She's one of those 800,000 people that are so important to our national security structure. We could not do what we do around the world in the absence of our reserve component. Now, I'd be willing to argue what we're doing with anybody in the room at the nearby bar that you pay beer for. But in the meantime, I'd like to honor people who actually support those 800,000. And I've got a Department of Defense award called the Patriot Award that honors supervisors who support what our reserve component soldiers do on the job, because if they didn't support them, she couldn't do what she does in uniform. So, Kimberly. I'll talk loud. On behalf of the Department of Defense, I'd like to present you the Patriot Award for your support to our soldiers and family members who serve our nation, and in this case, work for the city of Dallas. So those are the first 2 things. Now let's go cut the cake.
All right. Thank you. Great job, sir.
So what'd you do with the Texas Guard?
Well, I was actually active for 4 years. I came out of station as a medical service officer.